Welcome to Nature Talks, where we tune into animals, nature, and the universe. My name is Susie Gatti, and I invite you to a deeper connection with animals and the earth. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Nature Talks. This month is actually October of 2022. And today we have the topic King of the Beasts, myth or reality? Well, it's a very cool topic, I think. I was like, there's a few layers here of stuff, and one being the obvious one, basically us as people having created a sort of hierarchy of animals where we have decided, these animals are better than other animals. These animals are more intelligent than other animals. These animals are more spiritual than other animals. These animals mean something other than whatever. So everything that is times a gazillion. Let's just join on create it. Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all nine shorts, boys, povats, and beyonds. And it is interesting because, I'm in Texas and I have this little trailer here, and my trailer has visitors, and those visitors are cockroaches. And, so when you see a cockroach, you're like, kill it, kill it. But if it was a lion walking through, you'd be like, oh, look at that majestic lion in my trailer. Isn't that amazing? Well, maybe not. Maybe I would freak out. But what I'm saying is, we have this interesting way that certain things we are willing to kill with ease, and then other things we're like, oh no, that is a taboo, you shouldn't do that. Or we judge people that run around and shoot lions. Now, of course, there's also the other part, which is there is a shit ton of cockroaches in the world and not that many lions. So there is that too. So we have to also be aware of that, because part of that is also an awareness. Okay, there is a lot of mosquitoes, but there aren't a lot of elephants. So everything that is times a gazillion, let's just join on create all that, please. Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all nine shorts, boys, povats, and beyonds. One thing, though, that we have to really start to look at is, what is your personal preference of animals? Because also some people like the furry ones better, some people like the feathered ones better. And then, of course, there is all of this stuff that comes along with it. I'm a fan of birds, I'm a fan of wolves, I'm a fan of this or that or the other thing. And then even when it comes to certain animals like wolves, for example, some people think they are amazing and they're wonderful and we should protect them, and other people have the point of view that we should shoot them. So who is right and who is wrong? Everything that is times a gazillion, will you just join on creative, please? Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all nine shorts, boys, povats, and beyonds. So what is it going to take for you to actually have a look at what it is for yourself that you have decided about this? So what criterion are you using to create the hierarchy of animals you are choosing? Everything that is times a gazillion, will you just join on creative, please? Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all nine shorts, boys, povats, and beyonds. So what criterion are you choosing for the hierarchy? Are you using to create the hierarchy of animals you are choosing? Thank you, Jen. I know I said it differently. So everything that is times a gazillion, will you just join on creative, please? Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all nine shorts, boys, povats, and beyonds. So one more time. So what criteria are you using to create the hierarchy of animals you are choosing? And everything that is times a gazillion, will you just join on creative, please? Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all nine shorts, boys, povats, and beyond. And then have a look at this. So what are you basing this on? So where is it something you have experienced in other lifetimes? Is it something that you are basing on the current life that you have now? Are you basing it on experts? Are you basing it on movies? Are you basing it on footages, films that you have seen, documentaries that you have watched, the fact that you were in the zoo as a little child and you fell in love with a certain animal? Like what is it that makes this list of what makes this hierarchy? So what criteria are you using to create the hierarchy of animals you are choosing? And everything that is times a gazillion, will you just try and uncreate it, please? Right and wrong, good and bad, pod and pock, all nine shorts, boys, pulvats, and beyonds. So um, this is an interesting, this is definitely something to have a look at, because if you keep holding this in place, then what is it that you are also creating in the world? And again, it's not that the cockroach is the same as the lion. It is not the same as the lion. And this is not what I'm trying to say. It's not about making everything the same. But it is about an acknowledgement that we are very quickly willing to dismiss certain things in the world, like dismissing the insects, dismissing the cockroach. We're not really willing to actually be present with it and go, wow, okay, what is this energy now? And this energy right now being in my house. Okay, so what is that? So everything that is times a gazillion, will you just join on creative, please? Right and wrong, good and bad, pod and pock, all nine shorts, boys, pool, vats, and beyonds. So, and Sandy's saying, do animals create a hierarchy within their packs, like an alpha versus an omega, or lead mare versus other horses in the pack? Well, is it hierarchy or is it leadership?
That's what I, yeah, because like to me, it sounds more like the, those labels of alpha male, omega female, like all of that. Like that's our description. That's what we've labeled it as. But I get that they don't really see it that way, but there is always the lead. But then but then under the lead, do the other, like would the other horses, say, for example, have their own hierarchy as well? Like, because you do see it sometimes. Like, I don't know, but again, it's not really a hierarchy. It's a, I don't know what that is.
Well, it is a system of rank in a way, and yes, you could call it a hierarchy, but what is really missing? It's the judgment that's missing. The animals don't have a judgment about it. And it's really interesting because I remember very distinctly when I was a kid, there was this guy, I don't know if he was German or not, but he studied wolves to like, he actually really spent his entire life just studying wolves and their behaviors. And of course, the Omega wolf is the one that the entire pack basically attacks, and he is like the bottom of the totem pole, and he has a horrible life, from our point of view. The Omega wolf has a horrible life. So, he was looking at that too, and he was looking at basically, he did come to this place of like, well, if I had no judgment about this, if I didn't feel bad for this Omega Wolf, if I didn't try to save him, if I didn't try to make him anything other than, okay, he's the bottom of the totem pole. But what if I just looked at that and didn't actually have a point of view? And the interesting thing was, what he realized is that this wolf actually also had a sense of pride in his role in the pack, because he was actually there to dissipate also some of the tension. They basically had someone where they could take the tension out on, but the wolf didn't see himself as a victim. He was just part of the pack. And it was basically like, this is my role in this pack. And he wasn't seeing himself as, oh, I'm the poor thing on the bottom of the totem pole. But he had also that sense of energetic pride even though he was the bottom of the totem pole. So it was really interesting to, as a kid, because of course, without the tools of access and me always being in tune with animals, when I would see something like that where animals were being mistreated by people or each other, I would literally break down and start crying and get hysterical. Like my grandmother one time had to take me out of the movies because there was a cartoon that was before the actual movie where an eagle was being attacked by something else, a cartoon. And I literally fell apart, and she had to take me out of the movie theater because I just was hysterically screaming, like this can't be. Anyway, so I I did have the point of view that animals had to be saved, and thank goodness. I think Access saved me because I recognized that no, it's not about saving the animals. It is really more about the recognition of, okay, so what is actually working? And one of the things I had very strongly was like, yes, the poor animal, the poor animal, the poor animal, the poor animal. So all the SHIKU implants and explants you guys have about the poor animal, let's just try to uncreate all that, please. Right and wrong, good and bad, pod and pock, all nine shorts, boys, poets, and beyonds. And Jen, thank you for putting the name Sean Ellis in there. I don't remember that as being the guy, but it doesn't matter. I'm sure there's quite a few people out there that are really, paying attention to all these things and really dedicating their lives to getting some more awareness about all of that. But what I also wanted to point out is that we are still a lot of times looking for answers by really going into some kind of conclusion or coming already from a conclusion, then to try and prove the rightness of our point of view, or basically constantly looking for how we are right about what we have already concluded. And what we often are not really taking into consideration is the energetics of all of this. We go from really just looking at the animal world in terms of like their behavior, their body language, their noises, the way that they are acting. But the part about the energy is this piece that is so, so, so important. Because if you see a dog standing in front of you that has its tail between its legs, you do know that that dog is fearful. But that still doesn't mean that dog won't attack you. But if you're willing to actually look at the energy of that dog, then you will know when that dog is at a point where it now has to choose between either running away or attacking you. But that's an energy that the dog is going to have. That's an energy that will shift, that will actually give you information. And this is what I thought was so fascinating about this guy, that he was actually willing to look at the energetics of that wolf and not really what was going on. Because if you were just looking at the attacks and the way that this wolf was living, you could have stayed in the conclusion that this is the most horrible life that anyone could have. And why would anyone want to be an Omega wolf? So everything that is times a gazillion, will you just try and uncreate it, please? Right and wrong, good and bad, pod and pock, all nine shorts, boys, pull, vats, and beyonds. And so, like, yeah, in the horse world too, yes, there is the alpha mare, there is, there is basically this the leader of the pack, and then yes, there is a lot of rank underneath that, and horses will squabble with each other and they will fight basically for that, because also there is, if you have horses in a pasture and you feed them all and you put little piles of hay out, you can pretty much see who's in charge because they will drive everyone else off the food, and they make it their mission to walk around and keep driving the other horses away, but they can't be in the same spot all the time, so it becomes sort of at some point a moot point for them. But this is how you can see which horse has higher rank than others. If somebody walks up and pins their ear and another one walks away, well, those are having a higher hierarchy within that pack. But again, it's not from judgment. Nobody is standing around judging any of this. It's just, well, this is how this is working right now, and it can change immediately too. Like it can change in a heartbeat. So everything that is times a gazillion, let's destroy and uncreate it, please. Right and wrong, good and bad, POD and POC, all nine shorts, boys, pool, vats, and beyonds. So what criteria are you using to create the hierarchy of the animals you are choosing? Everything that is times a gazillion, will you destroy and uncreate it, please? Right and wrong, good and bad, POD and POC, all nine shorts, boys, pool, vats, and beyonds. What criteria are you using to create the hierarchy of the animals you are choosing? And everything that is times a gazillion, will you destroy and uncreate it? Right and wrong, good and bad, POD and POC, all nine shorts, boys, pool, vats, and beyond. And it is interesting because, like, animals will take advantage of situations. So if the lion is getting older or he's weak or injured, another lion might come in and kill him and all of his offspring and take over the female. And again, you could look at that and go, oh my God, that's horrible. So everywhere you're making all that horrible, will you just join on creative, please? Right and wrong, good and bad, POD and POC, all nine shorts, boys, pool, vats, and beyonds. But this is not how this functions. It's a different way of functioning. And so far, the interesting thing is, in the evolution of things, that sort of has worked so far. And even though this may sound really brutal, it has prevented certain gene pools from thriving, and other gene pools have been thriving. And so, of course, you could say, well, that's a brutal world. Maybe it is. And maybe it's also, again, our judgment that makes it brutal. So everything that is times a gazillion, will you just join on creative, please? Right and wrong, good and bad, POD and POC, all nine shorts, boys, pool, vats, and beyonds. And one thing that I have always been curious about is Gary and Dane have always, well, Dane is the one that started saying our point of view creates our reality. And so when you really follow all that through, how much is our point of view actually creating our world in nature as well? And so, is nature actually the way that it is right now? Is that a status quo? Or is a lot of how nature is going on and what's going on in nature also something that we have created as a reality? Because we are also using nature a lot to justify things we are doing. At least that's kind of how, when I was a kid, we were looking at, well, even even ants have wars. So it's nature. Nature rages wars, it's not just people. So yes, we this is in our nature. We're going to wage war, right? So we use nature to justify our behavior. Oh, in nature, animals rape each other. In nature, animals are unkind. In nature, things are brutal. In nature, we hear that a lot. Like, oh, it's our nature. We can't help it. We don't have choice. It's in our nature. So everything that you have done to make it in your nature, this unchangeable thing, like it's your what do you call it? Your reptile brain that's creating all that, right? You have absolutely no control over it. It's just gonna come out. So everything that is times a gazillion, will you destroy non-creative, please? Right and wrong, good and bad, POD and POC, all nine shorts, boys, pool, vats, and beyonds. Yeah, and Sandy says, acting like an animal implies violence. Yeah, if you're acting, or if you're running around like a pig, that means you're dirty and filthy and stink, So everything that is times a gazillion, we just try non-creative, please. Right and wrong, good and bad, POD and POC, all nine shorts, boys, pool, vats, and beyonds. So yes, there is that too, where it's like, we are constantly looking at nature for justification of certain things, rather than actually questioning it and going like, well, wait a minute, is that the reality that I want to live in? Is this actually what I would like to create and what's going on here? And to me, I'm always like, wow, if we all really come to no point of view about stuff, would that also change nature? So everything that is times a gazillion. We just join on creative, please. Right and wrong, good and bad, pod and pock, all nine shorts, boys, pool, vats, and beyonds. Because the other thing we all know is that you can only see what you already have decided is so. You cannot see anything that doesn't match your point of view. It's really not there. Like people will look at something and go, oh my God, it's so beautiful. And you look at it and go, where do you see the beauty? I see a lot of weird shit, you know? So it's like, so everything that is times a gazillion. Will you just join on creative, please? Right and wrong, good and bad, pod and pock, all nine shorts, boys, pull, vats, and beyonds. So, um, is nature susceptible to our projections? I get that I get the animals that live with people do, but does nature too? Well, have a look at it. Can you influence a plant by what you're projecting at it? So basically anything you have a projection about has a response to it, like an energetic response on one way or another. If you absolutely hate a plant, or if you call yourself a plant hater, how many plants around you? Well, a lot of people say, oh, I just don't have a green thumb. Every plant around my house will die. Like, don't give me a house plant, it will die. Well, is that actually a point of view that creates that? Is that a reality? Is that an awareness? Is it even yours? So everything that is times a gazillion, will you destroy and uncreated, please? Right and wrong, good and bad, pod and pock, all nine shorts, boys, pool, vats, and beyonds. And what is it that you have to cut off in order to keep that in place? If you, like, Jen is saying, I kill all plants. Okay, cool. So, but what do you have to actually keep in place to make that a reality? And what are you unwilling to receive? Because a plant, before it dies, it will send you a signal. It will let you know something is up. Hello? Hello, I require a little assistance over here. Could you help me, please? Whatever it might be. And so, what is it that you're shutting off to not receive that? And is this whole I kill plants even your point of view? Is that even your reality? Is that from this lifetime? So everything that is times a gazillion, will you just try and uncreate it, please? Right and wrong, good and bad, pod and pock, all nine shorts, boys, pool, vats, and beyonds. So can you create a different reality around you by the point of view you have? Yeah, because all molecules are responding in one way or another. All molecules are, and this is the fascinating thing. When this whole thing started to really come out as a scientific experiment, that we cannot look at anything without changing it. I think that's fascinating. So the moment you put your energy in, the moment you put your attention on it, you're already influencing it. So just imagine, like, we all have certain points of views about things that are going on in nature. We all have certain points of views. And yes, there are some people that have different points of views, but as a whole, there are certain things we have been agreeing upon. So then again, nothing that doesn't match that can come into our awareness, number one. Number two, it does become a reality because too many of us are aligning and agreeing about it. And so then we're using all of the proofs to keep that in motion. See, it's true, it's true, it's true, it's true, it's true. So everything that is times a gazillion, will you just turn on creative, please? Right and wrong, good and bad, pod and pock, all nine shorts, boys, pool, vats, and beyonds, because you can keep anything in existence by proving it's right. That's the thing with statistics too. Everyone always says, well, statistics are they actually for real? Because you can manipulate that in ever which way you want. So you can use anything for proof or against whatever it is that you're arguing. So everything that is times a gazillion, will you just join on creative, please? Right and wrong, good and bad, pod and pock, all nine shorts, boys, pool, vets, and beyonds. And I think most recently we saw that really well with this whole COVID thing. You know, how many people aligned and agreed with a point of view, and then if you didn't align and agree with that point of view, you were pretty much completely ousted. Um, and it didn't matter what kind of argument you had, you were now a conspiracy. Like, so it was very interesting how all that was being used to completely squelch your point of view. But remember, the same thing occurred with times when people believed the earth was flat. So everything that is times a gazillion, will you just join on creative, please? Right and wrong, good and bad, pod and pock, all nine shorts, boys, pool, vets, and beyonds. So we have all of these things that we think are real and true, and that we're vehemently defending to be real and true, but are they real and true? So everything that is times a gazillion, will you just turn on creative, please? Right and wrong, good and bad, pod and pock, all nine shorts, boys, pool, vets, and beyonds.